Okay.
Two more.
Well, they won't show up because I'm using from your flash.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Since yours was not coming up.
Okay.
So I'm using
my
one from-
flash is working.
So let's move
Okay.
yours on.
Oh, you couldn't get the, okay.
I couldn't get yours going. So we're ready to Well, good
luck,
afternoon.
everybody.
Welcome to our new knowledge session. I am excited to have KC St. Louis talk to us about the retail experience. We've all had those good and bad experiences when we're out shopping and so forth. And KC's going to share a lot of insight and her experience, and that is the key. How many of you all, this is your first time at one of our new knowledge sessions? And how did you hear about it?
I'm with Rolando Markets, and I've got a counterpart named David Height, and he's the one that set this up.
Right.
He should be along shortly.
Good. And I think Eva.
Work.
Well, welcome, and welcome to those that are joining us live on live stream. This is something we've started doing since about January. But I'm going to turn it over to KC St. Louis with Abingdon Olive Oil to share all her experience. And by the way, this is a workshop, so use this opportunity to ask those tough questions. We're going to put her on the spot a whole lot today. But thank you for coming and spending your lunch hour with us. So, KC St. Louis.
Hi, everybody. Where's everybody from?
I'm working about face in Abingdon, but I live in the Lebanon area.
Okay.
I'm from Bristol.
And what do you do?
I'm retired.
Okay. Just here to learn?
Yeah, and I'm part of nonprofit organizations that sometimes we can use some of the information, sometimes we can't. So I'm here to kind of gather all that.
I hope I have something good for you.
You will, I'm sure.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Laura, and I'm from Ernie's Women's Clothing.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm Todd from Abingdon. I work for the public library and teach at Next. I'm here for the library.
Awesome.
I'm Nita Farmer with the Washington County Chamber of Commerce.
Alice Rainey with the Sage Group.
So I think I recognize you. I recognize a lot of you having been customers in my shop. I think we just went to 21,000 in my database about a week ago. August 2nd was my 4th year anniversary, and I opened a second store in Bristol. So we're doing really well.
Which is an excellent store, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you pay him?
Yeah. They just keep coming in, so it's a good word of mouth, and I think that's what's really important when you're in retail, to deal with your customers or share with your customers your information and make it interesting for them and a good experience so that they want to tell their friends. And that's what seems to be working for me. They tell their friends and they keep coming back for more. And it's interesting that this was titled The Retail Experience, because that's exactly what we do. So often as customers walk out after the end of being in the shop, they will be remarking to each other, that was a really neat experience. I wasn't expecting that. So I say that with a great deal of pride when I say that. Especially the men, when they come in with their arms crossed. I'm with her, and they're just kind of pacifying her. And by the end, they're enjoying it as much as her is, and then they walk out just really impressed and having a good time. Well, I'm not very good with technology, so hopefully this all is here the way it's supposed to be. The last time I came, we had a real glitch, and I worked on a PowerPoint. There was a really bad snowstorm, and so it gave me 3 days to really put together this great presentation I was really thrilled with on marketing. And I shut my computer and just zipped right on over here and didn't hit save. So about 6 frames in, I realized, well, that wasn't supposed to be there. And then, I don't know, a couple frames later, I knew it wasn't the right presentation, so I just had to wing it. So it may happen again today, because I'm on Sandy's computer, mine's not working, and so we'll see what happens. So as you can see, Abingdon Olive Oil Company is the name of my company. It's in the Greenway Trade Building. It's a great building. When I first moved up here, I said, okay, God, I want to have a place on Main Street, be close to the Creeper Trail, be able to live upstairs. And that's what he gave me. I live on the top floor of this beautiful building. My shop is on the second floor where the flag is. The first floor was an apartment that I kind of took over, and that's where I do all my bottling and shipping now. And then I live on the top floor, look out at the Creeper Trail, and it's right on Main Street, so I got lucky. This was the reason I picked Abingdon, my 3 grandchildren at the time. Here they are on the back porch, we're checking it out. So you'll see as we walk into the building, I just started to take pictures of the building. When you're figuring out retail, I had not done retail before. Marketing is my background, and it should be pretty obvious as I go through here. But I hadn't really done retail. The first store I went into was in Naples, Florida, that sold oil and vinegar. People ask me how I got started. I had a good friend who was a massage therapist, yoga instructor, and she was all about good health. So she took me into the first store. The night before, I had come to her house. We were meeting some friends for dinner. I brought a bottle of wine. She had made some homemade hummus using the garlic oil from this store and drizzled it with the 18-year aged balsamic, and that was really good. We kept eating it with the chips and putting more of that 18-year on, and pretty soon we were full, wine was gone, called our friends, weren't going to dinner, and the next day she took me into this store. So I was very impressed. I came home with 6 bottles, said to my family, wait till you guys try this stuff, it's so good. They just rolled their eyes. They knew I'd been with my health freak friend. Within about, 30 days, they were pointing to empty bottles. Mom, time to go back. So I went back 3 hours across the state just to replace those 6 bottles. Came home with 12. Pretty soon had a collection of 24. My friends wanted me to share it at parties and stuff, and so every time I went back across the state to replenish mine, they'd say, well, while you're there, get me some of this and some of that. Pretty soon I was coming home with 10 bags from my friends of what they wanted, along with what I wanted. And about 2 months in, my daughter and I had I noticed that my clothes were fitting differently, and she looked like she'd lost some weight. I'd lost 8 pounds. She'd lost 12. I thought, that's really interesting. We hadn't done anything different other than just eating this good stuff. And so I just said, I'm going to look into this. This seems like a pretty neat idea. So I picked up here because the grandkids were here. It was between Abingdon, Asheville, and Jonesboro. It was a good pick to pick Abingdon. It's worked out really well for me. 22,000 customers later. And when I say 22, I mean 22 individual customers in my database. For every one that's come in there, there's been somebody else with them, or sometimes a family, 3 or 4. We figure we've introduced 40 to 50,000 people to good olive oil just coming through my store. So I must know a little bit about how to do retail because they just keep coming in and they tell their friends. But that first store I went into, and I said I was thinking about opening a store up north, Marie, the owner, said, these people that come in and just think they can start a retail store never having been in retail, I just don't get it. She didn't have any interest in helping me, but we've gotten to be good friends over the last 4 years. So I walked into this building trying to see what it was, if this was going to work for me. It had those beautiful old windows. It really fit with Abingdon that way. You can see it's pretty much just a shell. That's my landlord. We were just looking around that beautiful fireplace, although it didn't have a cover. I wasn't sure what I was going to do about that. There was insulation coming down. There's little Annie. She's just a little one. There's the back room. Just various pictures of it. Now what do I do? So I started by designing my logo. I couldn't find a dove that I liked. I knew I wanted the dove because I'm all about peace on the planet. And a dove was important to me, and the olive branch was significant to me. So I couldn't find one. I started to draw one. My husband and daughter came home, and I had different doves plastered all over my cabinets. Do you like this one better, or do you like that one better? This one or that one? And they're like, I don't know. I don't see the difference. But if you look at the upper left, you can kind of see the beginning of the dove. But I wasn't really happy with the tail. It didn't feel like it was moving at all, so I added a little flip to the tail. Eventually I put the feet on it, and that really lifted it up, so it felt like it was flying or moving, and that's what I liked about it. So that was the one I settled on. And I kept all the lines erratic. I wanted it to be like artwork because we're in an artsy town. I think that's important if you're in retail. Think about where you are, who your customers are gonna be, and the information you wanna impart to them, how you wanna fit into that town or city that you're in with your product. So that ultimately became my logo. Went on my bottles. I loved it. I thought it was really pretty. Gave me that real sophisticated bottle that on down the road people would want to put on their countertop. It's very important to me they put it on their countertop. I don't sell ceramics that you take it out of my bottle and put it into something else. I want them to look at my bottle all the time and think of me. And the minute it goes into something else, that's not going to happen. So. Gotta love your logo because you're gonna want to put it everywhere. And if you come into my shop, you'll see that it's everywhere. It's in the face. That's so people remember it. You pretty much can see it's everywhere. With my staff, I'm pretty particular about how they line up those bottles. Marketing 101, if you go into a 7-Eleven or any kind of a store, you'll always see that the Coca-Cola is facing straight out. You don't see the ingredient side or any of that. And that's so people see exactly that logo all the time. So with my staff, I'm pretty particular. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it clearly up there? All the doves have to be lined up. If they're a little askew, then I'll talk to them about it and make sure that they always make them straight. Also, so when a customer comes in, they see a nice, clean, neat looking situation. So when I say everywhere, this is one of my favorite stories. I love to hear customers talk about going into different friends' homes. The first time I really started hearing about it was when they gave the kitchen tour and people got on buses and went to the different kitchens, and then they come in and they said, your bottles are on every kitchen in the different kitchens that we went into in Abingdon. I said, that's awesome. And they said, but why more than just two? I mean, what do you need more than one bottle of olive oil, one bottle of balsamic? Well, I'll explain that to you. So they learned a little bit about it. But my favorite story was a mother-daughter that came in and they'd seen my bottles in Jerusalem. And I know there's a Lebanon, Virginia. So I said, is like Jerusalem, Virginia or Tennessee? And they said, no, in Jerusalem, over the sea. So that was pretty cool to me that my bottles are all over the world. Some of that I'm sure has to do with we're at the barter. I give a free bottle to whoever's the farthest away when Rick Rose gets up and gives his curtain speech. And so that means that my product goes all over the world. And I'm not sure how it got to Jerusalem, but I'm pretty happy about it. Okay, so this is a fusti. This is what you store the product in. And so I had to figure out how do I best showcase that, just like you want to. I went back to Florida where I was from. They have auctions every Friday night. I had 2 different houses that I had furnished with these furniture from the auctions. So I saw this online at one of the auctions and I thought, well, I'm gonna go check out, see what all they have there. That particular mahogany hutch I thought would fit really beautifully in with my antiques, the idea of the shop that I wanted to create. The fun story behind this was, I don't know if you guys have ever gone to auctions, but usually the auctioneer will start with what he wants to end up with price-wise. And I thought with those club feet and everything, that might cost me, I don't know, somewhere between $1,500, $3,000. I didn't know the real value, but if I could get it for around $1,500, yay, I could get off to a good start. I didn't have a lot of money when I started. A friend of mine loaned me $15,000 and I had $15,000 of my own. So I went to the auction. The auctioneer started with 15, he'll give me 1,500, nobody bid. 14, he'll give me 14, nobody bid. 13, eventually got to $100 and the bidding started. 100, 125, 150, going once, going twice. I raised my card for 175, somebody bid 200, I got it for 225. Jackpot. So the other furniture came from there. There was this beautiful bedroom set. That was an end table. I thought one of those fusties would be beautiful on that as a display with that backdrop. So this is in my garage when the furniture had been delivered. There's the headboard. Beautiful veneer on all of this furniture. And I just felt like that would fit really nicely in my shop. And so you can see all that inlaid wood and everything. I ultimately got all these pieces for $885 combined. They auctioned them off individually, But that was my bottom line. That's one side of a wardrobe that has a mirror in the middle. And I just kind of, those were antiques. If you come into the shop, you can see that they're kind of rusted and the paint is chipped off on those. Wasn't sure where I was going to put it all. But there are the three pieces to that turned into the next thing I'm going to show you, the headboard, the two footboards, and that side piece. And it turned into that. Can you tell where that came from? The backsplash to the two end tables. And then that's the footboard. That particular piece is 10 feet long. It's on wheels. So it will move throughout my front room. It's the very first piece that people see when they come in. You can see that it displays those fusties nicely. It wasn't there for a long time. When my product came in, I hired Penny. Penny Height was my first hire. I thought it would just be me and Penny working in this little shop, and maybe once in a while I would get out. I now have 2 stores and 16 employees, so again, it's worked out really well. But that piece was not in the front. It was the last piece to move in. Like I said, it was 10 feet long. And when they first moved it in, Penny said, well, there's definitely an elephant in the room, because we weren't used to it being there. So that's that beautiful mahogany hutch and how it turned out. The mirror came from turning the mirror in between the wardrobe sideways. And it really created brought brightness to the room, and also made those fusties look like there were a lot more of them. So when you walk into the store, you have that wow factor of all those neat things everywhere. Wow, this is interesting. And there's that wardrobe. It became a display cabinet. And the 2 front doors on that I put in the back to become backsplashes. So all the pretty bottles lined up, like I said, like your logo. That was the headboard to the bedroom set. It turned into that display. And then Penny had these beautiful linens that she had brought from Italy when she had visited there. So they made a nice surface, and then the glass went right on top of there. They never get dirty, but they're beautiful linens from Italy. You can see all that, isn't that pretty? That's the dresser. I got it for $35. It was the last thing to be auctioned. The auctioneer said Charlie broke the marble top when he carried it in. Who wants to give me 25 bucks for it? So I got it for 35. Nobody else wanted it. So again, we put glass over it to fix that problem, and some of those pretty things from Italy. And then that's looking at the mahogany hutch from another angle. That's my 18-year age balsamic there. It's the star of our show, and it gets a place all by itself in the shop. Whenever you have something that is your very best product, then you should always try to showcase it as best you can, and so that's what we do. So you always want to step back. I oftentimes will sit right in the 2 chairs in the front of my shop at night and just kind of look to see what the customer sees when they come in. I think that's really important. Also, I have people who come to the shop that are writers for magazines, or they're visiting. The first November, in came people from the different welcome, when you're driving down 81, welcome centers. And a whole bus of them came in, and a lot of 5 or 6 different writers from Southern Living, Good Housekeeping, because they were figuring out what their stories were going to be. They took pictures. So you always kind of want to be prepared for photo ops. I don't always know when they're taking pictures. This picture has been used often in different magazines. That's what it looks like when you're entering the store. That was in the beginning what it looked like. Again, I didn't start with a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot of filler and stuff to go with. That was the beginning. Then on down the road, I started to be able to fill in all the gaps. And so you can see how it starts to look. That's when somebody comes in. So you saw the pictures of that room when it was completely empty. And this is what it's turned into. This is what the customer sees when they first walk in. One of the things that I tell my staff that's very important, first thing we want to do is greet the customer. I don't ever like a customer just standing there looking around for any amount of time. They don't know what they're getting into. It's the first time they've experienced oil and vinegar. I don't want them to come in and see all those fusties, which I think are the wow factor, but go, uh-oh, what did I get myself into? Am I really? And then somebody walks up and says, hi, can I help you? And you think, oh God, she's going to make me taste all of these things. So it's very important to me that we greet the customer before they have any second thoughts, and we start to fill them with their first thoughts. We always ask them where they're from, what brought them to this town, why are they in my shop. In the beginning, it was the creeper trail or the barter. Pretty soon it became, we came to see you, we heard about you. They come from Bluefield and Knoxville. It seems like if a couple comes in and they're on their anniversary or their honeymoon, the 30-somethings, then if they're from Asheville, then within 3-4 weeks, I get inundated with a bunch of people from Asheville. This summer, it seemed to be a lot of people coming from Knoxville and that area. So somebody went back and started talking about it and sharing it with people, and that's what I hear a lot. We tasted it last night at their house, and we had to come in because they said that you had to do it. We thought, what can it possibly be? Because Joe was going on and on about it, and he never goes on and on about stuff. So if you've been there, then you understand what it's all about. But this is the first thing you see, so we stop you at the door, say, hi, how are you, where'd you come from? Always greet your people. It's important in retail. That's good customer service. You want your customers to come back because you're a retail store.
That's, I haven't been to your Abingdon store, but in Bristol, that's exactly the experience that I received.
They greet you.
I walked in and I thought, what do you do? I had no idea it was gonna be on the scale it was. So it was just, I was like, what are we doing here? And then the lady came up and said, well, let's, I'll show you around. It was a very, very good experience.
Thank you. Yeah. So we start right away with information. Again, I'm trying to distract you from just looking at all those things and saying eventually she's going to make me taste this stuff. So we tell you where the product came from, we tell you the history about it, we tell you why olive oil is important for you and all the polyphenols that are in it, all the health benefits. You can get off your blood pressure medication, you can lower your cholesterol. I was diagnosed with arthritis early in that I would probably have severe arthritis by the time I was 40 or 50, because my grandmother had rheumatoid arthritis. I popped and cracked all through my life, and the doctor said, just get ready. And I don't like to believe doctors very much, but he said get on a good olive oil. So I happened to be going on a blind date with an Italian, and he had some olive oil in a dish, some cracked pepper, and I tasted it and I said, that's pretty good stuff. My doctor told me to get on olive oil. He said, well, you're not going to get it in this country. Get it from a specialty shop. This came from the homeland. That's how I got started. I turned 60 this year. I don't have any problems yet, so I'm happy about that. Anyway, you stop them in the front, talk to them, tell them about your product, whatever it is. Entreat them however you can, because you want them to come back. You want them to be intrigued by your product. So as you look around, you can see that the product is everywhere and displayed everywhere. Very subtle beginnings to what they're about to experience. Pay attention to the details. Customers don't notice it, and that's what I kind of addressed. I like my doves all to be facing out. I like people to look and go, wow, this place looks really neat, but they don't understand especially why. Everything is very clean. I have a girl that on Saturdays, a high school girl, and all she does is wipes down bottles and keeps everything neat and tidy while other people are giving the tour. So the shop always looks immaculate. For one thing, it's a food product. I guess if I were in the auto business, I might not care that much, but you really want your environment to be nice and clean and tidy. It's going to make customers really comfortable when they walk in. There's the display again with all the bottles lined up. That's my fireplace mantle. We have two things wrapped there, very subtle suggestion that you can get, and that's my first important note for you. Subliminal marketing or retail, whenever people are walking through, they don't really know that's what it is. They just see it there and go, oh yeah. Very in the back of their mind, they might notice it's there, they might not. But for me, it's just beginning to plant the seed of gift. This can be a gift. This is my middle room. This was kind of an example of letting you know that if you don't have to start with everything in the beginning. In time, you can start to fill it in. I found one of my grandmother's old tablecloths, put it under the glass, cleaned it all up, and turned into a really pretty topper for my pairing table right there. And then this is going into the stock room. Just figure out clever ways to make it connect with whatever your product is. In my case, we're inviting people into your home. It's a food product that you're gonna wanna share in your home. So I tried to make it feel very homey, and that's why I put those curtains up rather than a louvered shutter or something like that. My staff is constantly figuring out how to get through it, but we figured it out. That's a new piece I added the 3rd year in, got it at another auction. It allowed me to add more product. They keep coming up with new types of oils and vinegars, so I have to figure out how to add it into my store. So this is the back room, the blue room, the before and after pictures. This is after but without paintings on the wall. Eventually I got paintings on the wall, so just slowly fill it in. These are paintings from Italy that Penny, who is my culinary artist, is also an artist, and she went to Europe and did a bunch of plein air paintings. My mother's a portrait painter. She knew it. She was a little reluctant to tell me that she had this artwork. And then when she brought it in, I said, these things are awesome. Fell in love with them, bought some on the spot right then. And she'll change those out from time to time. That table I thought was going to be something that we would turn eventually into a party situation and offer parties after hours to teach people how to cook and stuff. But we have too many people coming in during the day, so we're pretty tired by the end of the day. So I moved away from that, but you'll see some pictures where we did do that a couple times. This is in the back room. I'm not sure you can really see on the right side of that white cabinet, but there are the aprons that are displayed. So see where every opportunity you can find to display your products that you're selling. Those are logoed aprons clearly, and I always like it when people buy those because they're going to take them home and wear them and think of me, just like my bottles on the counter. There's some customers in that room. There's the other side. There's the starting to get built in with stuff, and that's pretty much what it looks like now. That's the fireplace, and that's kind of what it looks like now. Ever-changing situation all the time. In your shop should be too. Don't always kind of keep it the same. This is Penny giving who's the library? The Tisket the Tasket. We donated a dinner at our place, and I think 4 couples bought it, and then 2 more said, can we add 200 more? And so it went for $1,200 bucks. And so Penny did all the cooking, and they seemed to have a pretty good time. But like I said, a lot of work for a lot of effort, and then we were exhausted, and the next day was a Saturday, and Saturdays are killer. Those are those antique shelves that turned at first. This is my window right there when I first opened, not very full. I tried to make it as full as possible. Started to fill it in. Again, kind of that subliminal future sales with the gift wrap, and now there's soaps on those, but right there, that's when I was promoting the gift wrap stuff. And that's what it looks like now. I've added seasoning tins and that furniture right there. People ask about it all the time because it looks like it's another antique. I got the bottom at Sam's Club and the top at TJ Maxx. So just use your imagination. I think I probably paid $50 for the whole thing. You can get by if you want to with a little bit of money. So again, items that coordinate with what your main product is. In this case, I started recipes in a bottle. I gave each one, no, you don't have them? Okay, so these are my recipes in a bottle. As we walk people through the shop, we are always talking about use it, dollop it on this, drizzle it on that, and ramble off a ton of recipes. I let my staff take home, when the bottles get down to the label, then I don't know if it's going to go empty on a Saturday if it's busy, so I just let my staff take them home so they can work with them, learn how to use them. And then the next day when they're giving a tour, then they'll say, last night I made really good pork chops with the blood orange in the skillet, and that's how it happens. So we ramble these things off, and then people say, do you have this written down anywhere? Finally, I wrote it down. It was a real act of love, gift of love to everybody. But there's over 7 to 10 ideas on each page. No 2 pages are alike. Over 750 suggestions in there of ways to use it. And in March, I hired Susie Arrington to start selling those along with the dishes. So I guess I should show you those too. Anyway, those are for you to take home. The last presentation I did on marketing, in the beginning I said you're going to make mistakes. Just get used to the idea. It's going to cost you a little. At the end of the class, somebody said, you said you made mistakes. What were some of them? Well, that was one of them. That book where we hand punched all the pages. I printed the pages down at the office place, which is now closed, and then we hand stamped them. And I was doing about 50 books a month. It was a really nice presentation with more of a card situation, like a recipe card. And we put them together. That same high school girl that worked on Saturdays cleaning bottles would come after school and punch these things as I needed them. Finally, I got to where, okay, I'm going to go to a printer and have them printed. And so that's what you have there. In order to get the price point down, I had to get 2,500 printed. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll go with the glossier paper so the oils and vinegars won't soak in, and you can just wipe it off. And somebody suggested the notes on the back, all great ideas and stuff. But you'll probably notice as you open it up that they smell. And that's the coating on the paper. And I don't like smelly stuff with kitchen stuff, and so that was one of my costly mistakes. But we went back to this version. I think it's a much prettier version. It comes in these little bags. I'm often told that teachers will pull these bags out of their purses in the lunchroom, or nurses or doctors. What do you have there? And again, it's just one of my marketing schemes where you carry it with you, and somebody asks, I went in the neatest store, and this is what I got there. And then also, you buy a couple things, but the rest of the pages, you start to say, well, that sounds pretty good, that sounds good. Next time I go back, I'm going to get the lime, because I didn't get it the last time. So there's a lot of really good, subtle future sales in this one little book. The other thing that I came up with, I told you my first experience was in Florida. I ended up with a collection of 24. My friends would say, Case, come to the party, bring all your stuff. So I was bringing a plate for the lime oil, the coconut balsamic. They go really good together, separate or together, and a plate for the together thing. About 6 combinations, 18 plates. And the idea came to me once I decided to open the store. I need to have something special because we're in an art town and the pottery. I'm going to find a local potter to make me a signature servingware that you can only get in my store. So this is what I came up with. You put the oil on this side, the vinegar on this side, and when you tip it, the two come together. You can only get it in my shop because I made it up. And so we tell that all the time to people. I sell a couple of hundred of these a year. I just ended up getting a patent on them this summer. They look like this, a much more generic version of it, because this is very folksy and works in my shop. But my idea is to sell these to other stores. My supplier is Veronica out of California, and I was the 203rd Veronica store to open. Now there's over 650 stores. So that's the other reason I hired Susie, to sell those little recipe books and to sell these dishes to the other stores. So don't ever hold yourself back. Look, those thoughts come to me when I'm sitting in the chair, and I told you, oftentimes I'll sit there just to see what the customer is seeing when they walk in for the first time. Does this look good? Does that look good? What do I need to talk to my staff about? Why are those turned over there in the display? We need to pay more attention to that. And that's when these ideas come to me on these other things. So sometimes you just sit and kind of think about it as you're looking around, and other thoughts will come to you as well. And then finally we came up with this next dish because we realized you don't just need to stop at one oil, one vinegar. Sometimes a couple oils go really good with a couple vinegars. And that became these individual serving dishes where you can add several different things, and then your steak tidbits or shrimp or whatever, bread can go right here, and you can double dip to your heart's content. So these are our individual serving dishes that we're just starting to market as well. I think that's all I get. Oh, and then it makes a beautiful wedding gift. So when people are coming in or they're looking for a nice present and they want something more than just the oil and the vinegar, you can just package everything together. It upsells as you move along. The other good upsell are our pourers. They're really nice for all of our bottles. So I immediately went from serving out of the Foosties like a lot of other Veronica stores do, to pouring right out of the bottles. Now they're using my bottle, they're putting it in their hand, and they're also using that little pour spout to dispense the product. So they're learning all about it. So when they come up to my register at the end, it's a pretty easy thing. You guys have been using these the whole time you've been walking around. They help you to drizzle, dollop, or drench. If you want any of them, they're $5.99. Oh yeah, I guess I need some of those. So that's how that works. This is all the recipes. Use your creative imagination with all of these. You're going to be the culinary artist to create masterpieces. Again, we're in an artsy town, so I'm trying to relate my product to the other experience that they're having while they're in Abingdon. Obviously, the Barter Theater is huge for the arts, and so and then all of our wonderful art galleries. So I just kind of played off of all of that. That's the Debbie Grimm pottery. Debbie Grimm's the potter that I found, and she's at South Holston and Hartwood too, so it's really easy to promote her. That's as you're checking out, and I think that we're coming to that part. After everybody's walked through the store, they're wowed, wow, this was really neat, never knew there was anything like it before. Now they come up to my register, and as they come to, those just show you the different glazes and stuff. For a while there I was selling baskets. They didn't go so well. I wouldn't call it a mistake, but a costly mistake, but I did have to drop them down in price towards the end to finally get them, move them on out. But they were a nice addition for a while. There's my little gift plate. And that's how they're displayed. The melted bottles is something new that I've come up with. I think they make great spoon holders, and it's going to put something right on somebody's kitchen counter that they're going to use. It's also good for putting your oil in if you want to serve it up that way, but like I said, I like to sell those dishes instead for that. But I really like those spoon holders. Okay, the next thing for your subliminal marketing, the bag tags. I'd gotten some pajamas at Christmas time, right before when I was thinking about opening, and it had a little to and from tag on it. I thought, wow, that's a really good idea. So it's the thing that when they come up to the register and I'm checking them out, and I say to them, the bag tag doubles as a gift card and a 10% off coupon. I already told you in the beginning we planted that seed with the gift-wrapped bottles. And so now they're thinking, oh, gift again. The glass underneath my counter, right where the women put their purses down, have this sheet that says the gift of good health. They'll put their purse right on it and then look at their husband and go, this would be a really good gift for your mother to take back, or whoever, the dog sitter. And they think it was their own original idea. Cool beans. So that's how that bag tag works. It also helps because I have staff that otherwise would just be sitting around doing nothing, waiting for customers to come in. So they are tagging bags. It makes a little swingy thing for people as they're walking down the street with the bag. And so it kind of attracts attention. The original idea was that customers would hold on to that, put it on your refrigerator or in your purse. And every time you'd see it, you go, oh yeah, I gotta get back there and get something else. So it kind of serves a lot of purposes. There it is hanging from the bag, the gift of good health. My original slogan was the taste of good health, because it is, and then it just was obvious to go into the gift of good health. And I started using that everywhere. That's at Christmas time, the sparkling tool. It's glitter tool. Some people like it, some people don't. In the first year, they didn't have the option. Now I give them the option. And live and learn. Sometimes you learn a lot. So there it is all over the floor. We're getting ready for Christmas. I already have, that was my first year. Now I have them about end of July, 1st of August. There are people who say this would make a neat Christmas gift. And when they say that, by the way, we have these ready to grab and go right out the door with you. Oh, okay, and they just buy them up and out they go. One of my favorite stories is my friend Terry Patterson, who comes to visit, and she'll sit in those chairs right in the front waiting for me. And she'll watch customers come up with a couple bottles of something. And they'll be looking around and talking. They're waiting in line for me to check out the other people. They look here, they look there, they look all around. This is one of the things that they see to the right where the seasoning tins are. Oh, look at that, that's a good deal. Pretty soon they're walking over and picking up one or two, sometimes 3, 4, and walk out the door with it.
Can I interrupt you for just a second? All of these things that you have observed and created. I've been doing small business counseling. I used to have my own business, and I've been doing small business counseling for years. And I've always told the people who we sit down and we talk about a business plan. And one of the things I tell them in the business plan is after you get this thought that you're going to start a business, and you sit down and you create your first business plan, even if it's not a very good one, you sat down and you thought it through. I tell them that you're never going to go in another store and think about things yesterday, tomorrow. And by that I'm saying, like you said, when you go into a store, all your doves are set up the same way. When you go into a 7-Eleven, someone spends $300 for one of those vinyl signs, and they hang it up so you can't read it. You go, why would you do that? And it's not until you start your business or you start the process that you realize they've just wasted $300 on that sign. Why don't they hang it up right? You know, examples of what you're talking about. You sit there and think, now, how else could I do this? Had you 6 or 7 years ago, or before you started, you wouldn't even have thought about that. But now that you have this business, your whole mindset changes. When you walk in somewhere, you're critiquing, why did they do that? Hey, that's a good idea. I think I'll try that. And all those things that you talked about, why don't I have a grab-and-go kind of thing? It's the process of being in business and the process of thinking this through that all these ideas begin to come to you, because you just don't think of things the way you used to. You know, it's mind-boggling what happens to you when you have to, when this is your living, and you say, how am I going to make this better? So it's refreshing to me to hear all these things that you're saying, because that's exactly right. It's exactly what happens.
And really, just if you take the time, I mean, you hear it all the time, just to sit and meditate, or just think on just let your mind wander, how many things can come to you. I call my mom, she's in Florida. I have that beautiful porch swing out front. So I call her every day and I talk to her, and then I'll hang up, and then I have my conversations with God, Gabriella, my main angel, and we'll sit there and talk about, okay, now what's the next thing I want to do with this? So,
and it's obvious that your thought process, if you go back to your slides, where did she start you off at? At the sidewalk when you're looking at the building. So from the time you get out of the car, from the time you're standing on the sidewalk, you're looking at that building, saying, how am I going to impress this person when they walk in? It starts, it's your sign out front, it's cutting the grass, it's all these other things, all play a part in how you are successful in your business. It's great.
yeah. So it's jumping ahead from what, I don't even know what the next slide is, but it's a good time to point out this wrap card to you. The Bristol store had been open a year. I don't know when they came to us, but somebody from the marketing department with Bristol Motor Speedway came to me and said, can we work out some kind of a deal where you can give the gifts to the corporate club suites, 150 of them, for the race? And I said, well, I think we can work something out. I'll think about that one. Because that was 150 people from somewhere in the world, not necessarily here, or 150 suites, and then the people that would be coming. And so it ultimately ended up where we did provide the gifts, and in exchange we got some really good advertising for it. And we were also set up in the corporate club room. So our product was in all the suites. And then the chef and the director of operations came to taste whatever it was that we were giving as the gift, so they could use it in their recipes. And that's turned into a really fun journey. But it led to these wrap cards, because I was going to be allowed to set up in the corporate club room, corporate club suite, where they have 500 seats, $1,500 a seat, and that's for the people that didn't want to pay for the whole suite, but they wanted to bring 4 or 5 guests or give away the tickets for the different nights. So I set this up. I thought, wow, if that's the case, then how do I tap into those people for future sales? How do I get corporate gifts? And so I set up the Corporate Gift Club. And with that came the slogan, the best oils for your engine. It just went hand in hand. It was something that I was sitting on the porch swing thinking about, okay, how do I want to present the product? How can I make it really work for me? And the best oils for your engine went right along with the Speedway. My IT guy, I told him about it. I said, I think I want to trademark that, because somebody, Mobil, some oil company will already have it. Well, guess what? They didn't. So I trademarked it, and I'm going to use it a lot in my future advertising, because the best oils for your engine can go in many different capacities. It just doesn't have to be the races. So I have a lot of ideas that I'm working on that I can't share with you right now, but I'm pretty excited about the future. Okay, so that was off track. But yeah, there's the grab and goes. They're everywhere, and they just plant the seed. Oh, wow, maybe we could get this People, when they're traveling through, typically it's tourists that are gonna end up buying that. But my locals will buy it for their different people during the course of the year. I have one very valued customer who had a heart attack not long ago. He has given gifts to his corporate friends for the last 3 years. And so he had a heart attack. His wife called and left a message. I was really disappointed to hear that. Now he's all better. It's like 3 months later. He came into the shop to get 10 gifts because he was on his way to see his doctors at the hospital and wanted to take him these really good for the heart gifts. He, about, I don't know, 2.5 hours later came back to get 7 more, and then a couple hours later 2 more. Because every doctor and nurse that he took him to didn't even know about my store. So even though I feel like I've had all of these customers, there are still a whole bunch in the Abingdon and Bristol area that haven't even come to me yet. So I'll just keep figuring out ways to tap into all of them. And like I said, I've got some things up my sleeve that are cooking. There's my 4th of July. My bag is red, so white and blue wrap fit really well into that. We always try to talk about the gift of good health and how important it is to you, because that's what the product is all about. The tuxedo wrap, that's just black tulle with a white bow, white tulle with a black bow, but it looks like a tuxedo. And the title tuxedo just kind of makes it sound even better than just a couple bottles of oil. So think about the wording that you're using whenever you're putting up your signage. It's important. It will plant seeds for people. So that was pretty much one of my early pictures, I can tell, because I didn't have anything to put on those bottom shelves. I filled it with bags. I would just open bags and stick tulle down in there to make it look festive. So Penny's greeting the customers. Like I said, we greet them right when they first come in. That's all the different products and how we try to showcase them when you're giving gifts. Especially at Christmas, we'll put all those together like that. Now this year we'll start to put that green ribbon thing. And about January, February, a lot of bridal shows are going on. We set up a bridal registry last year. It was the first time. So then we'll really start to do some packaging that say, ooh, buy me for your bride that's getting married and that kind of stuff. And Abingdon is really starting to become a destination location for that as well, for people to come. So I have supplied gifts for rehearsal dinner guests and things like that. They like it because then they take the bottle home and it says Abingdon on it. And they had their wedding here. So again, if you can figure out how to incorporate wherever you're located and help your customers want to give it as a gift to somebody, even if it's oil for your car, I think I could probably figure out a way to sell that too if I need to. So now they're coming up to the register. This is my register. It's always a work in progress. It kind of looks like a bunch of gobbledygook there. But that main front table is where they're going to be standing and setting down all their bottles. And so I have signage there. The Ruby Red's on sale right now. Ooh, maybe I want to get some of that. It's only 12 bucks. My Thanksgiving grab-and-go sign is there. That just went up. The tuxedo wrap, because when they're at the desk, that's when I start talking to them about these things. You can always do, would you like your bottles gift wrapped? Is it going to be a gift for somebody? No, it's just for me. But, oh yeah, you can have a gift. Here's the Thanksgiving thing. That's the stuff they're looking around at. I just put condiments in. I don't think it was a mistake to get them, but they aren't selling really quickly, so it's probably something I won't keep. There's the display. One thing I'm really proud of are those napkins in my Dove, because I do it myself, and now you can get it with the logo right there for your napkins when you're eating. I'm a green person. I like to recycle as much as I can. We recycle our bottles. All my bags I insert with the cardboard that separated the bottles when they came in the cases. Again, I hate to put men down, but they're the guys that come in like this, I'm with her. And then they're really impressed by the time they get up to the desk. So right about the time I'm starting to put the bottles down in the bags, the men almost all the time will say, do you have bubble wrap or anything to put around that? And I'll go, yeah, I can get that in just a minute, as I start to put the cardboard separators down in there. And they go, oh, I guess I don't need that. I should have known you had everything figured out. So little by little, you do figure out the very best ways, and it can be impressive to people. That's all my signage. When people are standing there waiting to check out, it's important to have signage on the right and the left, because it's just planting the seeds on on the other stuff you have for sale. And it's pretty much everywhere at my point of sale right there at the end. So there's my signs, don't just stop at sparkling tool. There's my napkins in different colors, and it also wraps a bottle. So if somebody's coming in and we talk about it being a great napkin for a bread basket and a nice little gift. And oh yeah, it gives me another 12 bucks, go figure. So that's how that works. There's my Pray for Peace. I'm working on a whole Pray for Peace campaign, and maybe if I get invited back, I'll be able to tell you about that. There's my display. That's one of the first things they see when they walk into the shop. That's the very first thing straight ahead, and right about then we say, hi, how are you? So we distract them, but they saw something really pleasant. What is that over there? They really can't tell what it is because those dishes don't speak for themselves at the beginning. Those chairs have been very, very valuable. Sometimes the husbands keep looking and the wives are ready to sit down, vice versa. If we get tour groups in, then there's people that just can't stand, and so they can sit. And I have chairs in every room, so everybody's comfortable, because we're going to be talking to them for a little while. It's definitely not a 10 or 15 minute stop. People are usually in there for at least 40 minutes, if not an hour and a half. Can't make up their mind, well, just get the grab and go. It's a good place to start. So I think this is just a different view of looking at all that. So some people came to us with repurposed barn siding that they were making cutting boards and stuff. I asked them to route out for me a place to put the little heart dish in there. It's an infusion dish, comes with that set. Has a rough bottom on it so you can break down garlic, ginger, horseradish, and put your traditional oil in there. So it makes a perfect spot for that right there. I asked them to put the groove in because we use bread and it's really gets crummy and everything. But Penny loves it as a pork roast platter. And then it's perfect because she can put her little dipping sauces right there and it'll grab the grease and everything. So we kind of made them custom for us. There it is on the table, just so planting a subliminal seed. You'll see this at the end, but it's just sitting right there while we're giving you the tour and talking about other stuff. The seasonings I sell a good bit of. I'll always keep those. They're right there at the end. If they forgot to taste them and they're standing in line, oh yeah, we forgot to taste those. They'll go back in because they're waiting. And then they end up buying a couple of those. Let's see, what do we got going? Plant the seeds for future sales. So that's the gift of good health. They come up. As I'm getting their information, we say the bag tag doubles as a gift card, a 10% off coupon. If you ever want to ship anything to anybody, we can ship 1 to 4 bottles. It's a flat rate box. This is it right here. In the cavity, you can also go to seasoning tins, any number of pours, or our flip book. So we're just feeding in all the information that are the seeds for future sales when they come back. Just in case they forgot or they didn't pick it up by looking at the stuff. This is a pretty neat way that things get shipped. People are always impressed with it. It just happens to fit an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So when you open this or send it as a gift, the first thing you see is the gift of good health. Ooh, somebody sent me a gift. And then I get calls often about how neat it's packaged. Never seen anything like it. So that's fun stuff. We always put down in the box any promotional materials that we want. I love promoting the barter theater. Their success is my success and vice versa. And so I always put their information down in our bags. And we put that in any of our shippers. If people, we ship all over the country, so if it's coming to us, if it's going out, come to Abingdon and, oh, by the way, we have this really cool theater. How am I doing time-wise?
You're fine.
Okay. So all of that's right there, and then you see those pours. By the way, this is what the bottle will come with. You've been using these pours to drip, drizzle, and drench. They really help you. Once you get them, never store this product in the refrigerator. If you're going to store it in a cabinet, not close to the stove, but just to the side is perfect because the heat's not rising or lowering. Get these caps, put them in, leave it right there on your kitchen counter. You'll reach for it and use it a lot more. And also I am telling them, keep it right there so you're always looking at my logo and my product. And people do it, like I said, they're in Jerusalem. Holy cow, the Holy City. So we can ship. And there's the signage for it, just in case I don't get to tell them. Cool. Those are our promotional materials. We take them around to the different hotels, anywhere. It's not the same size as a rack card on purpose because it won't fit in a rack card slot. And that means that the hotelier or whoever they are will leave it right there on their counter. And then people see it and they go, oh, wow, oh, you gotta go in there. I have, I think her name is Judy at Holiday Express that cleans the kitchen area. She sends customers in all the time because they're always intrigued. And sometimes they bring her back a grab and go because they were so happy that she directed them to that really cool store. So it's got the map on it. In the beginning, people said, you were hard to find. I drove back up and down the street 4 times. That's because my building is set back in. The signage is hard to see. The dove is the main thing for me, so that's what I'm really marketing the most and want people to remember. So we put the map on there. It's also on the back of my business card. Oh, didn't know this was going to be in here. That was my very first pour. And the girl on the left, her hands, that's Meredith who introduced me to it, the massage therapist, yoga instructor. I think that was one I deleted, but it's on the stick. So these aren't really in order right here for some reason. But that's Penny giving a tour, how we talk to people, just make them feel good. Those are my 10,000th customers. There's my 12. That was her little girl. We kind of make a big deal about it. We get balloons and whistles and people come in and they don't know what those are for. Well, we're waiting for our 12,000th customer or whatever. Oh, where are you at? We only have 3 to go. But if you've already shopped there, then you're not going to be the next one. And so it was winter and snowing. I think it took 3 days because we kept having people come in but they bought from us before. And so the balloons, finally I had to get new balloons because they had deflated. The champagne, I think we already drank the bottle of champagne the first night, so we had to get more champagne. And then we also have sparkling cider for the little ones. So finally it was this mother that came in, and we were also tickled, and the whole staff is just kind of like, yay, it's a new one, and she's going to buy something. And so we're all hovering, and she didn't know what we were hovering about. And then when I finished the sale, then we blew the blowers and the whistles and everything, and the little girl got so tickled by it all. That's my 14,000. She was in a bus group. The 1,000th customer, whoever they are, gets whatever they bring up to the table. If it's 2 bottles, 4 bottles, a case, they get it for free. That's been I only had to give away 8 bottles was the most I gave away. But well worth it. This poor lady, the lady behind her to the right, let her go first. And she had like 8 things. And she goes, no, you go ahead and go first, because she just happened, she was so mad at herself. But it was her best friend that came on the bus tour with her, so she was happy that she got it. So this is my new Bristol store that I opened up. Here's the front door. It's been a real fun journey. That's what it looked like before. And I'll just kind of go through these. That's what it looks like now. What to do with that long, narrow space, and then that window back there was going to be kind of odd, and high ceiling in the front room and a low ceiling in the back room. But little by little, you just figure it out. Those really neat things that separate the windows. I originally thought stained glass, bevel glass, but I wanted to be able to hear and speak through them. Those were at Hobby Lobby, and they were on sale. So yay, the bonus program. That's the outside at nighttime. That's looking in at nighttime. There's the thing. Lots of fun. Some customer came in and saw the blood orange and goes, ooh, my blood bleeds orange. And that was our next promotion for UT. We started wrapping grab and goes in the orange and white. So, because there's a lot of UT fans and they're looking for gifts and they're going to a homecoming party or a tailgating party. And so we put the right signage up and they buy that stuff. Always nice to make them feel welcome. I'm not happy with this display yet. You can see it's really not quite there. But it's a work in progress, like all businesses are. So it'll start coming together. You can see it's starting to fill in a little more. I got new tablecloths. They're shorter. I got my dove on the corner, so you see that. You can get the tablecloth with the dove on it. Those are new things that we're starting to add. I think that's just a cool picture looking through to the back room right there. So again, neat photo opportunities. If you're doing a retail business, I think it's always a good idea to just sit back and kind of look around and see if somebody's going to take a picture. Is it the picture you're going to want to see in a magazine or something? because you don't always know, they don't always ask you. Those are those cool things, worked out great. Started with some different pottery, a guy from Asheville, I thought it would be a good idea, wouldn't call it a mistake, I like it. But people keep asking at that store for my serving ware, so I'm moving it over there, and I probably phase his stuff out. That's the reason I came. There they are. Emmy's now grown to be really big, and now we have a new one. So in the 4 years, the family continues to grow. There's little Ellie. She's getting even bigger now. That's me at the very beginning. That's what you see as you leave my shop. I always like the customer to leave on a happy note. If you've shopped with me, you know you get a thank you hug from me. I want you to feel good coming in. I want you to feel good about all that money you just spent. And then I also want you to have a nice feeling as you're walking out. The very last thing you remember, wow, that was neat. What a neat experience. So there you have it. That's pretty much my presentation.
If you haven't been in her store, I was exactly what you described. What is this all about? I gotta taste all these things, are you crazy? I was with my wife and my brother and his wife, and it turned out to be just a super experience. I had no idea. I said, olive oil's olive oil, isn't it? It's a totally great experience.
Awesome, thank you.
How many of y'all have retail operations? I know you do. You do? Any things that you all do that kind of coincide with what KC does, or?
No, I'm overwhelmed with ideas now.
Are you? Awesome.
That's what
I'm
it's
not
all
sure
about.
how I can tailor it. As I said earlier, I'm part of Ernie's Son's Clothing. I'm part of the next generation coming along. Ernie, he's been in business for 44 years. Primarily a men's clothing store. We also have some women and kids. But I have an accounting background. So this is, I've been involved for 2 years. This is still all new to me, and I'm a little overwhelmed.
In a good way.
In a good way. In a good way. And, I was really glad I was able to attend today, because now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I tailor what you've spoken about to our organization?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure I can wrap my head around that yet, but.
Well, like I said, you just start by just sitting at the front door and looking around. And sometimes it's not 2 minutes. And sometimes just sit there with your cup of coffee and
That's one of the
just
things.
look around.
That's exactly one of the things that we do in the business plan or in the business consultation type of thing. No one knows your business better than you do. So what I call it is sit across the street on the curb and ask yourself, what are they doing in there? They got the right lighting, they got the right vehicles, they got the logo where it's supposed to be. Can I see the sign that says open? Do people know where it is? You know that better than anybody else, but because you're worried about the trees instead of the forest. Every once in a while, you gotta worry about the whole forest. So go across the street, sit on the curb, and say, what are they doing? What could they do better? And then write it all down when you go back into the store, start doing it, because you'll have a list of things to do, and you can't do them all at once, but you'll have a list of things. So every once in a while, you have to say, how do I manage the business instead of the business managing me? And this is a good example. How do I manage the business instead of the business managing you?
I think the thing that sticks out in my mind is how many opportunities through that whole experience that you're using to upsell, that you want to not leave any money on the table, that you're using every opportunity that they can accessorize that purchase.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go from one spot to another and.
Because they're gonna buy that accessory someplace.
Mhm.
You want them
And
to buy it.
sometimes when you're starting out, or when you're developing the ideas, maybe you don't have the money to do all these things. I mean, you didn't do all this stuff right away. I mean, it kind of perpetuates itself, and sometimes it takes a year or two to say, hey, let's do napkins, and they probably sell real well, but you didn't think of it earlier, so it just kind of comes and goes. And sometimes you got to have the finances to do something.
Yeah, if you don't have the money, I have a folder of future thoughts. And sometimes you just take the leap of faith if you don't have the money. I know this is gonna work. this is what I'm gonna do, which is really what the Speedway thing is all about. I know it's gonna work for me, it's gonna cost me some money, but it's gonna be worth it.
A couple of excellent points that I've taken away from, to take to the library is one, branding yourself, getting your image, making sure everything's current. Like you said, location, how you are merchandising your materials, your best stuff, front, center, and always make sure that you greet everyone and make them feel when they come in and leave that they've got the best experience they've had.
The greeting is really important, and the closing to that greeting, so that they feel like they have a new friend, and we feel like we have a new friend. And we hear that often. It just feels so good when you go in there. Every once in a while, somebody will go, I don't want to leave. It feels so good in here. And that means we've done our job. With the staff, I tell them it's really important to sell stuff. Yeah, that's important. But it's more important that people feel good when they leave, that they just walk out going, wow, that was a really neat experience, a really neat spot.
The other thing I noticed when I came to your store was you didn't just hire someone. The people that you had there, you looked long and hard to find some of those people, I think, because they were very into, they were very well versed in all those oils and the combinations and whatever training you provide them was very good, because they knew all the answers and they knew the product, and there's nothing better than someone dealing with someone who knows their product.
Well, again, I let them take it home, the end of the bottle, so they work with it and they use it, and then they can talk as if they are experts on it. Although I cannot tell a lie, it is a shop spiel, and they have to learn it.
Yeah.
And my daughter just moved up from Florida, and she's going to start working with me, and today's her first day on the floor, and last night she was reciting the spiel over and over again to me, trying to figure out the trigger thoughts that would trigger the next thing, and so they sound fairly intelligent even on their first day. Oftentimes I'll be at the register and somebody will say, she gave a really good tour, and I have to turn around to see who they're talking about, unless it's he, because I only have one he.
They have that one flavor that it's good with red meat. I don't remember what that was, but I don't know, how can that possibly be? You take a little piece of bread and dip it in this oil and balsamic, and I'm telling you, it tastes like you just had a piece of steak. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable.
Awesome. Any tips that Roadrunner does?
Well, I think we do a lot of the same things, obviously on a bigger scale because we're more diverse as far as the product offering, but you know, as she mentioned, you do have to identify, you know, the product and look for ways to try to, you know, get the recognition, get the logo. That's really important. And when I was looking at the different versions, I mean, at first it's like, well, you know, but then she mentioned like the little feet and stuff like that. So having it out and having it all faced and nice and neat and organized. I mean, and for me, the thing I always think about, and I don't know if the thoughts ever occurred to you, you know, you went through the effort to put the pictures together, to look at everything, and you know, you sit across when you have some downtime, and I've always felt, you know, we strive, like, I always think of Hemingway, a clean, well-lit place, and that's kind of what, you know, if you can provide that opportunity, I mean, people feel a little safer going in there, they enjoy it, they're going to stay a little bit longer, as she mentioned. But I think one of the things, especially nowadays, and it could be the size and the scale of her operation, which I think is probably an exciting time for her, but you know, everybody gets a card from her, is what I heard you say, right? I mean, nowadays, you know, it just seems like too many people are just focused on taking your money, and, you know, so that, I think, you know, along with everything else, I mean, yes, you want to greet people, you want to, but I think more importantly than that is just being remembered, or being, hey, you know, I really do appreciate that, and that's something that goes a long way. So, I interviewed somebody that used to work for you. I don't remember their name, to be honest with you, but they were just very passionate and very upbeat about, you know, the time that they spent there. They really, really enjoyed it, and they still may be there. I don't recall if it was just looking for something part-time or not, but I mean, I had never heard of it, so when I came in today, I mean, I knew only because I talked to this individual,
Wow.
and they were, you know, had nothing but positive things to say about it. And I kept asking them, like, well, Abingdon Oil, come on, you know, tell me about it, you know? And so, as he pointed out, I mean, whatever it is that you're doing as far as the training, I think it's more than that, it's probably the environment, but he seemed to be very passionate about, you know, what it was that they were doing there. So
Yeah, when
that's
I
always
first
good.
came to town, I went to a Main Street merchant meeting, there were 2 newbies, and they said, tell us your name, what kind of shop you're opening. I said, I'm Casey St. Louis, I'm opening an olive oil and balsamic store. Okay, you? You know, nobody, how can you make a living doing that? And I still hear that, is again, men who come in and somebody was raving at the house they were at the night before, and how can you possibly make a living selling oils and vinegars? And he got it at the end, as he was walking out with a case of.
I personally was impressed the moment I opened the door. I thought, there's this many? I don't know what I expected, but I was just totally blown away, and I thought, wow.
Awesome.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have to stop in.
Yeah, you are.
Obviously,
Hey, you're already an advocate.
I'm always
Just
surprised
round
and
the head.
partially offended when somebody hasn't been in,
Yeah.
in the beginning. I go, well, welcome, and now I go, well, wait a minute, been here 4 years. Yeah. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
the other thing I would just say is just, you know, when you have time, as you, you know, sometimes it's the finances, but if nothing else, at least you're better prepared. You know what step you want to take as you're growing, or you can't necessarily do everything, but just sitting down and writing down those ideas,
It's important.
yeah, because you know, one, it gives you something to strive for, it gives you something to dream for, but it's also, you know, you're planning, and just when that time comes, you know, you already know what step you're going to take. So even if you can't at the moment, I think that's big.
Casey, do you ever do a marketing plan annually or quarterly? I mean, I'm just curious. Because as Gary said, you know, we do a lot of work with small businesses, and we're doing a challenge now for businesses from basically Lee County to Smith County and all parts in between. And, you know, marketing plan is very important, as well as, you know, as part of your business plan. And,
It's very important.
you know, when I'm talking about marketing and workshops, I'm always saying, you know, like, here's Mother's Day a week away and you've done nothing to promote or prepare for it. That's why having some type of a plan, even down to having you a calendar of, you know, now you're going to be part of the races, and how you're using that. And because it is, you get busy, you get bogged down, and sometimes it's good to keep a little journal and to step back and say, okay, what worked for me, and let's not do it anymore. I mean, that's money wasted.
Right.
And because you know, people, unfortunately, some businesses thinks marketing is putting in a Yellow Page ad, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they put everything into it. And who uses Yellow Pages much anymore?
Yeah.
That's what Siri and all the other things.
Yeah, and if you haven't been approached when you walk in and say, well, how'd you hear about us? When I used to have when I had my business years ago, it was in the Los Angeles area. And it would cost me $500 a day for one little newspaper ad, $500 a day. And so I wasn't big enough to have a big budget, so I had to figure out what worked and what didn't. So when you walk in the store and they say, how'd you hear about us? You say, well, I heard you on TV, or I saw it in the newspaper, or I did this. We would go write that down to find out what worked and what didn't work, because it was so expensive that you know, if it wasn't working. The other thing I realized, and I don't know if you have, you know, I thought, you know, I'm going to run my ad on Sunday morning's paper, and that's the one that's read the most, and Monday morning the phone's going to start ringing off the hook, and away I go, and that's not how it works. Like, you gotta do what the big boys do, and you gotta do like Pepsi or Coke. You see Coca-Cola written on everything. You have to overwhelm the customer so that the first time they think about a soft drink, they think about Coke. And so you got to be out there in all these different forms of advertising and stuff.
Well, I didn't
it's
have
so
the money to
expensive.
be out there. So that's why I figure I have to overwhelm them while they're in my store.
Yeah.
So that the people that are there go out and they go, wow, you gotta go into this store. Well, how can it, because I didn't have the money to do any of the advertising. And when you do advertise in the magazine, it can be costly. And then it's a month and then that magazine's gone. But I can say my best advertising has been the billboard on State Street, because people stop there and they're at the stoplight and they're looking, and I don't know how many tens of thousands, but they actually see it. In a magazine or a newspaper, are they gonna see it? Are they gonna even notice it? Are they just looking for the articles? I mean, is it a Playboy scenario?
But just like you said early on, it's word of mouth, just like Trader Joe's. Look at Trader Joe's, how popular they are, and keep moving. There's not one circular ad anywhere out there about Trader Joe's, it's word of mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is knowing your product line the way we do in my business. There was only 2 or 3 of us in the area that I used to do Murphy beds that fold up and down in the walls, and there was only 2 or 3 of us in the whole region. And you know, when someone come in the store or when you go to someone's house and measure, you had to know what you were talking about, and you had to know who the competition was and what the differences were. And if you didn't know that, then you could lose the sale by just not knowing. And so the education that you have for your people and knowing all these things, and you know, no matter what you teach them, it gets to be a spiel. I mean, it's the same thing every day for every customer.
Yeah, that's what I was
You know,
thinking
it's the
about
same.
with you. You know, you overwhelmed, don't know where to start. People would come in the first 2 weeks and pretty much ask the same questions. Oh, well, where's it coming from? Oh, well, how do they do it? And it got to where I was going, yeah, do you make it right here? Yeah, we go out back to our olive tree and bring in olives every morning and crush them. Sometimes people go, really? And, because of that same thing, and the questions seemed to come in the same order, that's what prompted me to sit down and start to write it before they asked the question.
Yeah.
And that's when they became pretty impressed with, wow, you know, you really answered every once in a while you'll get somebody that has to ask a question because they can't help themselves, you know, and they just want to stick something in there. But usually it's the question that's coming to their mind has been answered before they have it. And that just came from listening for about a month to what those questions were and paying close attention. And when they walked away, I would write down, oh yeah, I don't want to forget to address that. So when a new hire comes on, they pretty quickly know the information. Then they listen to what those of us that have been there a long time say, and they're intrigued too, so they'll start researching on their own. I have one girl that I think knows more than I do, and she's just been there for 3 weeks, but she keeps hearing other people talk, and she'll go right home and study what that is, and the internet's really good that way for her.
Well, probably the most expensive part of marketing is getting them in your door the first time. Mm-hmm. And you want to keep them coming back, and that's why having that experience, that they're not only going to come back, but they're going to be telling their friends, they're hopefully going to be putting it up on Facebook, tweeting about it.
Oh, and when they come back, have you ever been here before? We always ask them that, because there, like I said, are 600 of these around the country. Yeah, we have one in our town, I've been there. Well, we stopped asking, have you ever been to one of these before? Have you ever been here before? We do it a little bit differently. We like to give you a little bit to a tour and kind of get you acclimated to the space. Oh, okay. Well, if we ask, have you been here before? Well, I have, but she hasn't, so give her the spiel. The one that's been there listens intently because they missed so much the first time. And that's the other thing that's helpful with the spiel, that all of us within the shop say the same thing, so people are hearing the same thing. And if the phone rings and somebody has to go answer it, we know right where to take over. We pretty much know where they left off, other than last night I made such and so. And if you know Penny's sometimes hard to pick up where she left off, because she just loves to ramble all her different stuff, and she's an extraordinary cook, so it's hard to follow that act. But other than that, everybody pretty much can follow the very same page of where, if you get called away. So that's another suggestion. Where do you start? To start listening to what customers are asking over and over again. Sometimes it's just, well, how much is it? And that's one of our last lines, because people will always, they want to know. They're intrigued. It's interesting, but what's this going to cost me? So it's one of the last things that we say in the back room. Everything in the front room is $18.99, and we just ramble that off. So they don't have to ask that question or go digging for it. And then it's right there on the sheets where they can start testing and checking off the things that they like. And it costs me a little bit of money to have an 8.5 by 11 that has all my product listed, but it gives the customer something to check off. And they just will check off as they go around. They don't necessarily always get it that first time, but I mean, again, if you have something that kind of lists everything, they take that home and they're gonna hang on to it because they wanna remember that pair of royal blue shoes or the 18-year aged or whatever it is that they're, whatever kind of story you have that they wanna know more about.
Any other questions? Well, Casey, I thank you so much for
Welcome.
sharing your experience and especially your time. And I hope that you all leave here with some tips and some thoughts that you can apply in your facilities moving forward. I will make a little plug for next week. We'll be talking about tourism business management support. Kevin Costello, with Tourism Director for Abington, will be sharing that. And hope you can come back and join us and tell your friends about these sessions. We're pretty excited about them, and we've got a number of folks that watch them online through live stream. So thank you for participating. But come back and have a great afternoon. Thank you.